I'm gonna take a walk before this hot air dries my brain.
Hey, when you come back, walk by the deli, huh?
Yeah, sure.
So it was the gardener, huh? He was the one wasted the chauffeur, right? Over that girl, maybe?
It's a lot more complicated than that. Poor Gardner wants girl with social connections. Poor Gardner seduces girl or vice versa. He learns about girl's mama, makes a play for same and job security.
You're wrong. I went to the Devil's Advocate because Mrs. Stravos asked me to do so. She was worried about Vicky. She didn't want Mrs. Lang to find out about it.
Oh, mission of mercy, right? Why don't you look at these? Both from the same machine. Care to explain?
Someone typed this note on that machine. I was not that someone.
An innocent victim of a double cross? I doubted it. My cynical side was strong as ever, but there was something odd about this David guy. Something more than just his blank history. Okay, old buddy. If you're telling the truth, I'll find out. The same as I'll find out if you're lying. Only, don't make any sudden moves, you know, like leaving town. Or I'll jump to a quick conclusion and put the cops in your tail. If this David guy was a crook, then he was definitely not small time. So who would know for sure? Who had his finger on all the heavy-duty con men, white-collar hoods, and trained assassins in the state? Danny R. Romero. That's who. Getting in to see a guy like Romero wasn't so easy, but I made a few calls to the right people, and before you could croak Cosa Nostra, I was getting a free massage.
You're not carrying today, Seamus. That's very smart.
Just lucky Irish.
The name's Mr. Sheen. Come on and rent a cop.
All right, what you got, Eddie? What's so important? It could be new talent. I'm not very connected anymore. What's his game?
Blackmail, maybe.
Penny ante.
Maybe not so penny ante.
Who's the score?
Try Norma Crespi Lang on for size. I guess Danny didn't like the way that one fit. Too tight, I think. Binding, you know, right across the chest. Well, I don't know. Relax, Danny. This may not be the guy.
Did Norma tell Victoria?
Vicky? Tell her what?
Yeah, you're right. Why would Norma tell a kid anything like that? Kinda messy. Yes? Excuse me, will you, Eddie?
Oh, sure. What was going on? I say apples. Romero says oranges, then tries to cover like he'd meant apples all the time. Victoria. As soon as he heard the word blackmail, Danny jumped right on Little Miss Muffet. Why? I started adding things up in my head. The new Mrs. Norma Lang has a thing with Danny Romero. 18 years later, Norma gets herself blackmailed. And when Romero finds out, he hollers Victoria. Before he even knows what it's all about. Vicky. Victoria. I didn't like where my brain was taking me. The headache suddenly got a lot worse. How old was Norma's daughter? 19? 20? Could she be 18? Well, easy. No sweat. And if things had worked out different, could Victoria Vicky Lang have been Victoria Romero? Oh, whoa, troops, what a headache.
All right, Eddie. Where were we?
Well, Danny, I was just leaving. My 10 minutes are up.
You handling this little problem from Norma, Eddie?
Well, I'm trying.
This letter that Norma got, why don't you let me handle it?
I'd be glad to. I mean, you're welcome to. When Norma tells me to lay off. Romero mentioned a letter, but I never told him about any letter. Didn't have the chance. So how'd he know? I decided it was a good thing Mr. Lang was out of town. Mrs. Lang and I were going to have another long talk. But first I called to my guy in ID, who was happy to report he'd finally run down the goods on our chauffeur. It seems Boots was a definite small-timer with a bunco record a yard long and 2 big falls for, you guessed it, troops, blackmail. Maybe I'd been wrong about this David guy. Maybe I should have aimed at old Boots from the start. Maybe I was thinking I should never have opened my big trap to Danny Romero. Hell, maybe I was getting old and stupid. Boots and darling Vicky. The more I saw of little Miss Moffett, the more the resemblance to Romero came through. She had the same kind of style, basic cobra. The guy who swung the sap was a real expert, just a pretty blue star, bang, in my head, and then nada.